But you are listening to the Schwartz and Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. I am Patrick Wooten, joined by Jake McDaniel, minus Richard Schwartz, who was supposed to be present, so hopefully he will saunter into the studio here in a little bit on this rainy, dreary Monday morning. Rain that was much needed, so it's a good thing. We know that part, and appreciate everyone listening. And if you want to join us, you can do that on the Supertalk call line at 888-808-8637 or the C Spire text line 601-879-4395. First thing I'm going to throw out there, I've been doing the show for a long time. I've got a big sweet tooth. It's Mardi Gras season, and so somehow my social media feed has just been inundated with king cake stories.
Me too.
I mean,
me too. I'm targeted.
And I do love me a good king cake. So, and I'll get to my king cake story in just a minute. But I'd love for y'all to text in on the C Spire text line 601-879-4395. Either your favorite place to get a king cake or a great king cake story. I am hoping we work with a firm in New Orleans, and they always send us a king cake. We hadn't gotten it yet to the firm, so I'm really hoping that comes sooner rather than later. But, my most famous, or really the only king cake story I have, goes back to February 1st of 2009. Jake probably wasn't even born on February 1st of 2009.
I can't remember 2009.
And so getting on the plane in Gulfport, Mississippi, the chartered plane in Gulfport, Mississippi, to go to scenic Bagram, Afghanistan.
Oh.
And
scenic indeed.
Yeah, that's right. So our unit is boarding, my Mississippi National Guard unit, Paul's Pastry out of Picayune.
That's the one I had this past week.
Paul's Pastry.
The cream cheese. Paul's.
It is so good.
They say it's the Mississippi number one.
It is. Yeah. It is absolutely amazing. But gave each of us a king cake. Oh, there's Richard, as we boarded, and then gave us extra. We had 150 king cakes on the plane.
Oh, that's special.
And here was our route. We went from, I can say this now because we're 16 years past. We left Gulfport, went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to Newfoundland, Gander, Canada, and stopped and refueled. Reykjavik, Iceland, then Constantinople, Romania. Then we were supposed to land in a country that started with a K, because you actually don't fly straight into Afghanistan, and ultimately got there. But it's like we finally got to the point where we were all so sick of king cakes because the flight was like more than 24 hours. We were on every time we stopped, like in Iceland, we'd carry king cakes off. You want a king cake? You want a king cake? Same thing in Romania. So we were doing our diplomatic job to give king cakes to the rest of the world. So that's my king cake story.
How many people choked on the baby?
Thankfully nobody.
They don't know about it.
That's right. We don't know. We haven't been sued. I do think the statute of limitations is run if anyone did choke on the baby. But Paul's Pastry in Picayune is my shout out for that, because it was just amazing.
Well, I feel left out. I haven't had Paul's yet.
It is so good.
Okay.
It really is amazing. So, and then we've gotten, one, and I actually got this one fed on my social media, Lob Lolly, which is the Robert St. John Bakery. I've hit it many times because we have our office in Hattiesburg, right on Hardy Street, past USM. They are doing king cakes this year. Haven't tried one of his.
I bet it's good.
Robert does a great job.
He does.
We partnered with him a few years ago down in Hattiesburg with his Fighting Hunger campaign, and we packed about 1,500 boxes. So Robert really does a great job. He's a great ambassador for Mississippi and has some wonderful restaurants.
Nice.
But you missed it. So are you a king cake fan, Richard?
I've been spoiled like the ones that are filled with the filled king cake versus just a regular king cake. But any of them are good.
Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah. But the filled ones are the best.
But yeah. Mike, are you talking? Lance
cream
said,
cheese.
like, you like the cream cheese filling.
Yeah.
Like, I do like.
That's the best.
Paul's one we had gave us a bunch of the fruit filling ones.
Oh,
you had
really?
blueberry, apple. I kind of like the fruit filled ones are great for sure. But yeah.
Hey, Paul's also has pecan praline coffee.
Whoa.
That'd be, have your king cake with a nice little warm glass.
How about some chicory coffee?
Yeah.
That would be good. So, but so we'd love for you to join us again. C Spire text line 601-879-4395, or give us a call on the Supertalk call line 888-808-8637. And we had Jerry had to look it up. He said, "Got to look up king cake. Never heard of it."
What?
Really?
That's right.
Wow.
He's in North Mississippi.
A king cake? He's never heard
He
of
said Jerry said he'd never heard of a king cake.
Not just the company, the king cake.
Yeah.
Huh.
The king cake itself.
Well, we need to send Jerry a king cake.
That's right.
Don't eat the baby.
And then I did see there was a trivia question last week. Where did the king cake originate its name from? Do you have any idea where it comes from?
I mean,
I'm sure it's the king of the Mardi Gras. I don't know.
No, it's the three wise men who visited baby Jesus.
I feel bad not knowing that. Whoops.
Somewhere where it comes from. Yep.
Wow.
You got some frankincense and myrrh in there.
That's right,
Yeah.
exactly. A little sage and rosemary, so forth. All right, so we're getting a couple votes for Loblolly that saying it has surpassed Paul. So that's high cotton right there.
Got to try then.
I know, exactly. So that's up there. Well, Richard, we're going to say you're late because you just got back from the other side of the world last week.
I did. I went to Australia, and I actually petted a kangaroo.
Yep.
Fed a kangaroo. Amazing.
And I remember you told me it was different than you expected, like it was softer.
Yeah, real soft fur. Surprisingly, how soft it was, and how we were in this area where all the kangaroos are very docile, like dogs, and you can pet them and hug them and whatever you wanted to do with them.
Did you feed them?
Amazing. Yeah, fed them.
Did you feed them king cake?
You didn't have one take a swing at you.
That's right. I want to know, was it as jacked as you?
No, they're muscular, very
That was my
muscular.
next comment. They're super muscular.
They are muscular,
Were they
I'm telling you.
intimidating up front?
Yeah, they are. They're scary looking things.
Yep.
Interesting.
They are, but it was very, very nice. I went to Australia, New Zealand. It was in summertime there, and it was cold in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't want to be there in the wintertime.
Did you try any Vegemite when you
I
were?
did.
Okay.
I did.
JK, do you have any idea what I'm asking?
It's an acquired taste, but I had it in a puff, like a pastry, and it was very good. Mm-hmm. But by itself, it's not so good. It's okay.
The only reason I know about Vegemite, it's from the Men at Work song.
Yeah.
There's the song like Vegemite.
There's Megamite too.
Yeah.
I don't know what the
Vegemite.
difference is between Megamite and Vegemite.
Heard the term. Can't tell you what it is.
It's a food spread.
It's made out of
That sounds
beer
terrible.
byproducts or something like that.
They're made from leftover brewer's yeast extracts with various vegetables and spice additives.
But that's appetizing.
What's Megamite?
Okay.
What's Megamite? I didn't
All right,
try
yeah,
that.
let me see that one.
Yeah, there's a Megamite as well.
Would that have been, as Lance looks at that, would that have been the most unique food you tried while you were down?
Yeah, I'd say that was.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of the time, when I went on excursions, I had fish and chips, which were great, just absolutely fantastic. And on the boat, they fed us well. Unfortunately, I gained about 7 pounds.
And you loved that short flight. Very
Yeah,
short.
that's right. Yeah, it's only 15 and a half hours from Los Angeles.
That is a long flight
God.
over a lot of water.
Yeah.
That's when you actually want to listen to them when they're like, your life preserver is located here because you were flying over water nonstop.
Finally
It was
use it.
wild. It was a long trip.
So how many movies did you watch during that 15?
Probably about 4.
4 movies.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
I think the one you're referring to, the Megamite, it adds a lot of sugar to sweeten it.
Is that what it is?
Yes, that seems to be the difference.
That's why you would have gained 7 pounds.
Yeah,
You're
right.
eating all the Megamite. But that's pretty darn interesting there. So so did you enjoy Australia or New Zealand? Because no one
Sydney
realizes.
is unbelievable.
Is it okay?
Sydney is one of the greatest cities. It reminds me of Europe. Had outdoor cafes, a lot of art, stuff like that. It was unbelievable. Then there was this small town called Fairhope, New Zealand. I think that's the name of it. It is absolutely one of the most gorgeous little towns you've ever seen in your life. And, I mean, it has like 150,000 people, the retirement community, great downtown. I was really impressed with it, except it's summertime there and it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people don't realize how big Australia is. They just think of it. You look on the map, and it's this little blob way down there. But somehow, I guess when you went, I must have been doing research, and they started picking it up and showing it like over the size of Africa and over the U.S. How big Australia is.
Yeah, which in between there's not much.
Yeah.
It's just the Sydney and then Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's about it, and everything else is desert or
In the interiors.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So it's, I didn't go in the interior. In fact, I understand that you're required to carry so much water to go into the interior
Oh, wow.
of Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you were listening to the Schwartz & Associates Legal Power Hour, and we'll be back for segment 2 right after this. So, quickly, the Super Bowl is set. The Eagles and the Chiefs, probably the Super Bowl I am least interested in my entire lifetime.
You're tired of the Chiefs winning it all the time. My quarterback's amazing, but those are the two best quarterbacks right now. They're playing each other, so we'll see how that turns out. It'll be a good game. I think it'll be a great game.
I mean, the Bills-Chiefs game was extremely entertaining last night, much more than the Eagles-Commanders game. But
I think those 3 turnovers had a lot to do with it.
They did. So, but I thought it was quite interesting. So, but we are going to talk law. So, if we'd love for you to join us on the Supertalk call line at 888-808-8637. We'll entertain your questions, or give us a text on the C Spire text line 601-879-4395. Andy did give a suggestion, so maybe our agricultural commissioner's listening. He said fried Vegemite could be a new food at the state fair. I don't know. I think we may have to go with the Megamite because it's got the sweeter taste to it. Exactly. That's right. Get rid of the biscuit booth and just have the Megamite Vegemite booth going forward. So that's pretty funny. But hey, was going to give this example because I have a real world case where this applied. You've talked about this many times, Richard, of what to do after a wreck. And it talks about taking pictures or videos. So I have a client who is related to me who was in an accident about 10 days ago. And what's interesting is he's not at fault, got rear-ended, clear liability. The insurance company could not get in touch with their insured. Just couldn't get a return phone call. And the police officer completely botched what type of vehicle the adverse was driving. Put it down as a pickup truck when it was actually a van. It was a Ford. He put Ford F-150 instead of the 350 van. So the insurance company at first was like, that's not on the insurance policy. But thankfully, my client had a picture of the vehicle that was in the wreck. And so
that's interesting.
Correct. So
made it quicker and easier.
Made it quicker. Liability's been accepted. Property damages is going to be handled. He's getting medical treatment. But it just made me think about all the times you've sat in that chair and have been on this show and have talked about take photos or take videos, because that allowed us to get liability accepted because their insured just would not answer the phone from his own insurance company, which is crazy. So it's the old picture's worth a thousand words. And we've all run into it where the police officer, not through malice, but just makes an honest mistake.
That happens all the time.
Yep.
And how many times do we have a client, they said they never talked to me.
Yep.
And you have to go back and get them to amend the accident report. They only took one word.
Yep.
And so you can do what's called an addendum. You can go and put on your side of what's going on the accident report.
Yep. So, but it does happen all the time, and not only do you want to take a picture of the adverse vehicle, you want to get a picture of the tag, you want the license plate, and you've always said, Richard, if there's witnesses, record them on the spot. Because how many times have we have someone listed as a witness and then you can never get in touch with them again?
Absolutely.
Or you get there and they're like, oh, I really didn't see it. I saw it after the fact, although at the scene they're like, yes, Bob ran the red light. We know he ran the red light.
Right.
And then they
change their story. They don't want to get involved.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. Happens a lot.
So just important. I'm sure you've had World War examples like that, Jake.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's important to capture the scene.
Yep.
Document it. It helps a lot.
Yeah. So, and we get it, because I know downtown Jackson, where we're located recently, when you were gone, Richard, a couple of the lights weren't working.
Oh, yeah.
They were out. Like the lights were completely out, which of course turns it into a 3-way or 4-way stop, depending on how many streets are there. And that's something to be able to take a picture of, because if you stop but someone else doesn't stop and you're like, hey, the lights are out, it's so important to take a picture. If you can. If physically you're able to.
If you're in pain, obviously go to the doctor and do what you need to do for your health.
Yep.
But if you have the ability to, if someone comes to you and says, I saw the accident, just ask for their name and phone number.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
if you can do that, because many times they don't wait for the police officer to come to the scene.
Yep.
So the police officer won't have that witness name. So if you can get that witness name, that's always important.
Yeah, it is. So pictures, document.
We have a call, Jeff from Belmont. His son had a wreck about a week ago, and he had a question or two for you guys.
Okay.
Sure.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning. My son had a wreck last week, and a guy hit him in the rear, knocked him into another car. It broke his arm and nose, and but besides that, he's okay. But Progressive was the insurance on all three, but said the guy that hit him didn't have very much, so they're going to run it on our claim. And I had a question about that. I didn't like that going against me, but I don't know if there's anything I can do about it.
All right, well, let's talk about it, because I think I know what they're saying. What they're saying is they have a minimum policy of $25,000, and they have to pay both cars out of that $25,000. Your son is entitled to more than $25,000, in my opinion, especially if he had to have surgery. I don't know if he did or did not. But
No, he didn't.
okay, so you have what's called uninsured motorist coverage on your vehicle. And you pay an extra premium for that. Uninsured motorist means that if you or any family member is involved in a car accident where there's not any insurance or not enough insurance, you can make a claim and recover from your uninsured motorist. And you can make that claim, you can stack the policies on all the vehicles in your household with uninsured motorist. Even if they're different insurance companies, it doesn't matter. You can stack all that, and he will be entitled to more money. He's also going to be entitled to the MedPay coverage of the whatever was on that vehicle. I will tell you this, that anything broken, there's always a chance of arthritic changes later in life. He should get all the money he can possibly get right now. You pay premium for that. And he should be able to make your uninsured motorist claims. We can walk you through that if you need to, but there's a lot of information that you may need to get fully paid. But nonetheless, that's the kind of stuff that you buy insurance for. You pay extra money, pay extra premium for every part. I know they have insurance companies say, "Oh, you only pay for what you need." Well, that's every insurance company. you decide what coverage you want, and they'll give it to you. But if you have uninsured motorists, you should take advantage of it for your son. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yes. So should I do anything or let the insurance just handle it?
Well, you're going to have to open a Progressive uninsured motorist claim. They're not automatically going to do that. You're going to have to actually make a claim on your policy. They don't just automatically do that.
Okay.
So, so in your policy, you're going to be entitled to the MedPay coverage, whatever that amount is. In Progressive, it's usually $1,000 to $5,000. You get that, plus you will get more money for the pain and suffering that he suffered.
But we'd love for you to call us, because we can walk you through all that to kind of get all that headache out of you having to deal with it, Jeff. Because you didn't say how old. Can I ask, how old is your son?
He's 27.
Okay, so he's a grown. I was going to say he's age of majority, but yeah, we could definitely help out and kind of take away the stress and strain and let him focus on getting his arm healed. And, of course, then you have the separate property damage claim to figure out if that vehicle's a total loss or is it repairable. So we'd love for you to give us a call at the office, 601 or 662-988-8888, because getting your son back healthy is priority number one.
That's right.
All right. Thank you. We'll be calling.
Absolutely.
Yes,
appreciate
Take
you
care.
so much. All right. We've got a couple texts in on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. All right, Jake, listen. If you order fast food in the drive-thru and get choked on a piece of latex glove left on your burger, would you have any legal recourse if you did not seek medical assistance? I kept the receipt, the wrapper, and the latex. It's a triangle out of the wrist where it was pulled the glove and it broke. Did not bother to throw the triangle piece away that was between the thumb and the finger. So,
Did he ever complain to the store?
It doesn't. He doesn't look like he's at.
Well, if he never complained to the store, there's probably not much you can do anyway. But if he complained to the store, more likely than not, the store would give him some free hamburgers or something.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't have any physical injury, it's not worth pursuing. But if he could show that he had it, and at the time of he was eating his hamburger, then I think, and you can show the store's going to compensate him something.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you want to, when that happens, if you went through the drive-through, you'd immediately have to go back to the
That's
store,
right.
not a week later or
That's
2
right.
weeks later. It's kind of, as quickly as possible is when you do that. You are listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour, and we'll be right back for segment number 3. But you are listening to the Schwartz.
It's the Smith. So
That's right. You're listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. Patrick Wooten, Jake McDaniel, Richard Schwartz on this Monday, January the 27th. So another question in on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, or you can call us like Jeff did in the previous segment at 888-808-8637. So this is a good question we get all the time. It says, my son hit a deer a week ago, totaled his almost new vehicle. Is there anything I need to be aware of specifically when dealing with the insurance company? And thankfully, his son was not injured.
Oh, that's
so
good.
it's going to be a property damage claim. So here we go.
Yeah. Well, they will pay the property damage, and they will pay the med pay if he had to go to the doctor, which thank God he didn't. But as far as injuries are concerned, that's considered an act of God when you have a deer. Now, if you're a passenger in a vehicle and someone hits a deer, if the driver did something negligent, like he saw the deer and didn't slow down or was going too fast for the circumstances, or he saw one deer and there, usually it's not one deer, usually a bunch of deer. It's possible that the driver could have some liability for the passenger. But as far as the driver making any claim for injuries, there won't be any because insurance companies have a right to subrogate, and they can't subrogate against a deer, so they call it an act of God. So there's nothing you can do about that. But they will pay the property damage.
Yeah. But the one thing they may do that people have the misconception is they pay the value of the car on the day of the wreck.
That's right.
So, him saying it's almost brand new, depending on if it had payments, they could be upside down. So, Jake, how would you advise them if they call and say, hey, we're upside down?
Well, I mean, normally,
talk closer to that mic.
Sorry. Normally you've got some gap coverage that you can kick in. Unfortunately, we run into a lot of clients sometimes that are upside down on the vehicle. There's not a lot of great things you can do. They're going to pay off, the value of the vehicle up to that amount, and then you're still going to be on the hook for what you agreed to pay for it.
And there are coverages that will pay you the new value of a car for if you want that for some period of time. But the reality is that the way we normally do it is we get them enough money in the injury claim to help offset their losses on the car. But in his circumstance, it's just basically what's the value of the car at the time. It depreciates the moment you take it off the lot.
Yep. And the key to it is, Paul, and thank you for texting in, is do your research. Jump online, and there's so many different sites you can look to kind of say, hey, what is my car worth, so that you have an idea of what is the value of that car. If you bought it from the dealership, have a conversation with the dealership if you've got a good relationship with them to be able to get a figure so that you can argue. Because the insurance company is not going to give you the best number.
Sure.
They're going to try to give you the lowest number they can. So, have some ammunition to be able to fight them with and saying, hey, you're offering X, but really I'm looking at X, Y, and Z sites, and I'm also talking to the dealership, and they said they would pay me Y for this. They could have given me Y for this car. So that way you have something to go fight them with.
And the way they normally do it, and I'm suspicious of it, to be honest with you, and I think we catch them. I think we're going to try to catch them. They're supposed to go get 3 different bids. They usually use an independent service. Take 3 different bids, supposedly in the area of where the car is, because it makes sense. A 4-wheeler's worth more money in Colorado than it is in Mississippi.
Yep.
So, but they'll go everywhere. And they'll just go to Atlanta, or they'll go to San Francisco or whatever and try to do that, or they don't do it at all. Sometimes it's suspicious because the numbers are exactly the same, and you're very suspicious about it. So you have a right to look at that report. If you ask for it, how they determine value, you have a right to look at it. You just need to ask for it.
Yep. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Paul, for, chiming in on the C Spire text line. And we got another one that says, "Hi, Richard. My dad died 8 years ago and left me the right to estate. The property is over 50 acres. It's a lot of it's forested. Is it possible to get a limited power of attorney over the estate itself so the kids don't always have to sign to have the pine beetle infested trees cut? The land does go to them after I die. This was specified in my dad's will."
Well, that's interesting because it may be, I don't know how your father put it into that scenario, but unless he put it into hard numbers on real estate where there's a life interest to the others, it doesn't necessarily have to go that way. You really have to say so. You need to talk to an attorney about that. And you could do what your father says to do, but you don't have to. But, yeah, there are ways to do it, and I think the best way to do it is just to go before the chancellor who's doing the estate, have an agreed order or a motion that he can maintain it any way he wants to and anytime he wants to. It's his expense.
Yep.
And I think that there's no reason a chancellor would not agree to that. And the other thing is, I'm not so sure that the kids signing an agreement to do that you may not need an order. If the kids sign an agreement allowing you to maintain it, that may be enough. But I think you need to talk to your lawyer who did the estate work and answer that question.
Yeah, and it definitely is important to get those pine trees that are infested with the pine beetle.
No doubt.
Our neighbor just had a bunch of them cut down between his land and our land last week, which was important because, boy, they had bit the dust between the pine beetles and the drought last year. So it was good to get those down. Yes, Lance.
Bob is on the line with a question about he knows that you guys deal with tons of different carriers, different policies, and was really curious about what advice and how you'd go about choosing the right one.
Yep. Morning, Bob. Thanks for calling.
Hey, guys, how y'all doing? Hey, Richie, I think in 1769, James Cook had a lot to do with kind of new discovery.
He did.
Of New
Absolutely
Zealand.
did.
And if I can remember, don't they follow aren't they under British law?
I think so. Yeah. I didn't break any laws, so I'm not 100% certain, but I think so.
Yeah, they returned them, unfortunately.
Oh, well, yeah, I got you. Well, Richie, y'all deal with a lot of carriers, and I don't want to put y'all on the spot.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you the names, but here's the key to the insurance. I can rank them, and I can tell you who the best and the worst is, but this is the best way to do it. Not all insurance companies have local adjusters. There's only a few. There's Farm Bureau, Progressive, Alpha, I think it's
Shelter.
And Shelter. Those are only 4 that have local adjusters. Everyone else, you're going to be talking to someone in Nebraska or some unbelievable place. So you're not going to get, in my opinion, the same kind of service that you will. You may pay a little bit more money. You may not. I don't know that answer. But at least you have someone local to talk to work on your case. So I always advise people to find an insurance company that has local adjusters that actually work in the state of Mississippi. Does that kind of help you?
Yeah, and then to follow up on that for the listeners, Richie, the main things that you need to be conscientious about when buying a policy, because so many people buy the cheapest policy. Can you tell us what to look for and what to make sure that we have when we go shop for an auto policy?
Well, the first thing that always angers me is when an agent sells you $100,000 in liability, but only sells you $25,000 of uninsured motorist coverage. So that's ridiculous. You have to get uninsured motorist coverage equal to your liability. It doesn't cost that much more, and uninsured motorist is more valuable than liability in a lot of times. So that's the first thing I would do. As far as pricing, price around. All of them are different. And people say, well, if I make a claim on my insurance, they're going to cancel my insurance. Well, if they're going to cancel your insurance for an accident, it's not your fault. You need a different insurance company anyway. But second of all, they're competitive. They're more competitive now than they've ever been in their lives. And I think you can shop around and find other coverage. But I think that's the Number one thing is to make sure you have proper coverage. Make sure you know what you're buying. Full coverage would be uninsured motorist, would be comprehensive, will be med pay, will be liability, and you can get a rental car coverage. If you want a rental car coverage, you can add some other things. I would also encourage people to increase their med pay over $1,000, which is the minimum they usually write. I'd get more med pay than that if possible. But look at what your coverage amounts are. That's the main thing. And look at what policies have local adjusters and don't have.
Hey, finally, Richie, should manufacturers start making cameras mandatory in all vehicles?
No.
Yeah. We appreciate you calling as always, Bob, and listening to the show. You were listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour, and we'll be right back. You are listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. Hey, wanted to chime in. Lisa, appreciate you texting in as you talk about you have Geico, and you're like, hey, I have a local adjuster. That's not a local adjuster. You have a local agent. The adjuster, I can tell you, are actually out of Macon, Georgia, is where their southeastern claims office is, because I travel there 1 to 2 times a year and settle a whole bunch of cases with them. So your agent can be local, but your agent is not the one who ultimately determines what your car's worth if it's in a wreck, or how much you're going to get paid if you file an uninsured motorist claim. So there is a big difference between a local agent and a local adjuster.
Yeah, but a good local agent can help you in a lot of ways.
Can help.
There's no doubt.
But they don't have the final say so.
No, they don't.
Nope, the adjuster still trumps that. All right, we got another text in that says, I bought a vehicle online. It was supposed to be a 2016. I arrived at the used car dealer's lot on Sunday, so no one was there. The vehicle he left me was a 2013.
Oh.
Any advice? Well, you got a breach contract claim.
Yeah, absolutely do.
Yep. So you don't have to accept a 2013, and they absolutely should refund any money that you have paid.
Goodness.
Yeah, that's a fraudulent contract. If you had a contract and it's fraud involved in it, then obviously it's void.
Yep.
So you're not responsible to take the car. So you may if you want to keep the car, now's a good time to negotiate with them.
Yep.
And if I don't know the value of the car in justice court, you can go up to $3,500 and do everything on your own to get your money back. Or if it's a bigger problem with that, if it's a dealership, then I would call the Consumer Protection Division of the Attorney General's office and let them help you.
Yeah, the Mississippi Attorney General's office, not the federal government Attorney General's office. Right. But that is absolute a travesty. So we hate that happened to you. So of course they're closed yesterday. So I would definitely march in there today for sure and take any paperwork, emails, anything that you have that outlines what you were buying.
Well, it reminds me of the movie with Kurt Russell, Used Cars. If y'all remember that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good one. But that's like a scene out of that movie, you know. I didn't even know that happened anymore.
You know, I do know that you can buy vehicles on Amazon now. There's one of the major car brands, not an American one, that literally you can go onto Amazon and buy your brand new car on Amazon.
Will they deliver it by drone?
Yeah, that's right. Just drop it off right there.
Yeah.
I know Costco used to sell cars too. I don't know if they still do or not in Sam's. Yeah.
I mean, the funniest thing is, like, through all social media, watching, like, people who say they, like, order this pickup truck, like $3,500 pickup truck from China that gets delivered to their house and all these other things, which is just wild. Yep. Like, literally, you get it, and you have to attach the side view mirrors and the rear view mirrors, just a magnet that sticks on. But it is crazy just what that is.
Strange times.
It's kind of like what I remember in high school. You'll remember this. Jake will have no idea what we're talking about, is the Yugo.
Oh, I remember the Yugo.
Yeah. The Yugo came out right when I was getting my license. It was made in Yugoslavia. That's why Jake's just looking completely
trying to stimulate the economy.
That's right. The old Yugo was like $3,000 for a brand new car, is what it was. So,
I think there was an ox under the hood.
That's exactly right. They gave you a bag of feed to keep the motor going when you bought it. So, but yeah, I remember that, the old Yugo, $3,000.
Yeah. Now I'm curious if anyone has a collector's edition
of a Yugo
that's like in mint. What it would be worth today?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. They were ugly too. I mean, they were not the prettiest car.
My dream car that I wanted when I first started driving was a Nissan Pulsar NX. That's what I wanted in the worst way. I never got one. A little sports car.
Two-door.
Didn't get it. Yep, did not get it. Did end up getting a Honda CRX, a little roller skate looking car that was a two-door is what I got. So good times. All right, Richard, you were just in Australia. Did you go to the museum in Sydney and see the corpse plant that smells like rotting gym socks?
No, I'm glad I missed that one.
That's right. They said people are lining up by the hundreds.
You could add that with Vegemite
to go smell the plant, the corpse plant, where they joined a 3-hour-long line to take in that aroma.
There's some people that will do anything.
Yeah. It says it emits a fragrance evoking gym socks and rotting garbage.
No.
Holy cow! I'm definitely not in a hurry to smell that.
Yeah, let's stand in line for that.
I can go back in the building and then smell that.
That's right. All right, quick trivia question for you. 2 U.S. wars had battles that were fought in Yorktown, Virginia. What are they? What 2 U.S. wars?
Well, the American Revolutionary
That's
War.
one. Ding, ding.
Dang, that was my guess. Richard took my guess.
1812.
French Indian.
Nope.
Oh, that was my second guess.
So good thing y'all are not on Jeopardy. The Civil War. The Civil War
yeah.
had a battle at Yorktown, Virginia.
Yeah, that's
so,
right. Good trivia question.
Hey, we're here, Schwartz & Associates. If you need us, car wrecks, slip and falls, workers' compensation claims, anything you need, we're just one call away, 601 or 662-988-8888. Be safe and healthy. Be careful. It's going to be a wet and rainy week. So if you have a wreck, you know what to do. One call, that's all. Take care.